Sorry about that. Welcome to another edition of WIN TV, Washington Informer News. I'm your host, Denise Rollard Barnes. So glad to have you joining us on this Friday, June the 4th, here from our offices on Martin Luther King Avenue in Washington, D.C. Make sure that you click share on Facebook so your friends and followers can begin watching us here at WIN TV. And we want to thank you, so many of you all who have been following us on all of our social media platforms. And we want to let you know, or let us know, where you're watching WIN TV. So send us a comment on Twitter, click on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And I hope you have had a chance to pick up a copy of the Washington Informer this week. You know, we come out every Thursday, and so this edition of the newspaper is on the streets, nice and thick, 56 pages. We're hanging in here. We want to thank all of you all for your support, because we couldn't do it without you, our readers and our advertisers who support us every week. If you haven't picked up a copy, remember that you can read the Washington Informer online at washingtoninformer.com. And while you're there, consider subscribing. You know, it's just a great way to get some of our e-newsletters and all the information that we try to share throughout the week. And we've got some interesting new newsletters that'll be coming out this summer. So we hope that you will consider finding those and subscribing, because as we say, we always like to bring you news that matters. Well, this is a very, very busy month, and we are going to stay lockstep with just about everything that's happening this month. You know, June is the month we honor Black men and fathers, because, hint, hint, June 20th is Father's Day. So make sure you mark your calendars, and let our men not feel so deprived when they see all the Father's Day cards that tend to stay on the shelves when Mother's Day cards just sort of disappear. Go and buy Father's Day cards for either your dad, someone else's dad, the dad you work with, the dad that delivers your mail, the dad that may drive your Uber, whomever. Let's wish all of our fathers and Black men a happy Father's Day. And we also want to take this time to bring attention to Black men's health. You know, that's very important as well. This month is Juneteenth, and we'll also be observing the 51st anniversary of Pride Month. And we will appreciate Black music. All of this and other items will be topics we'll be discussing throughout the month of June. So we're glad that you're going to be with us as we bring exciting guests with great information. Today, our show will have with us James Thompson, who is the president of the 100 Black Men of Greater Washington, who's going to talk about the work that they're doing to improve the lives of Black men and boys throughout the District of Columbia. We also have Taylor Chandler, president of Flux, a national division of the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, who will talk to us a little bit about about Pride Month and some of the events that they have planned. We're very, very honored to have Reverend Jonathan Weaver, pastor of Greater Mount Nebo AME Church in Prince George's County, who will be with us to discuss the humanitarian efforts needed to support the people impacted by the volcano eruption and Mount Nyiragongo near the city of Goma in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And we'll return to our dive into the world of cryptocurrency with attorney Maureen Marat, who will give us the 411 on Cryptocurrency 101. And lastly, not necessarily in this order or the order of importance, but we'll have Dr. Destiny-Simone Ramjohn, who's a Ph.D. From CareFirst BlueCross, who will talk about BlueShield, a discussion of maternal and child health, a program that they're doing that's impacting people across the District of Columbia and the region. So first, we're going to have our broadcast reporter, Curtis Knowles, to give us an update on the news of the week.
This is Curtis Knowles reporting with WIN TV News. New guidelines by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission will allow companies to mandate its employees to have the coronavirus vaccine before entering the workplace. The updated guidelines also include for companies to offer incentives to their employees, so long as they aren't coerced. DC Public Schools is opening coronavirus vaccination clinics for students and families this coming Tuesday. The clinics are done in partnership with the DC Health Department and Safeway pharmacies. Students must be 12 years or older to receive the Pfizer and BioNTech vaccination. Maryland Governor Larry Hogan has stated Tuesday that he plans to end enhanced unemployment benefits by July 3rd. Hogan's decision to end the benefits comes months before the federal cutoff. Anyone remaining on unemployment after July 3rd will be required to engage with 3 reemployment events each week. Hogan has cited the reasons for his decision as there is now widespread access to vaccinations and an urge to increase the economy. The World Health Organization has announced that it will start naming coronavirus variants based on the Greek alphabet. The World Health Organization's COVID-19 technical leader, Mariah Van Kerkhove, has stated the reasoning for this is so that no nation receives stigmatization for detecting and reporting new strains of the virus. World Health Organization officials have stated that the scientific names of the strains will not change, but the new Greek names are for public discussion, making it easier for people to remember and say. This is Curtis Knowles with WIN TV News.
Thank you so much, Curtis. And I also wanted to add, by the way, that Washington Informer Charities, which is a branch of the Washington Informer, our nonprofit, we're excited because we have a little free library right in front of the office on the 3100 block of Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue, Southeast. It's been out there a little over maybe about 2 years now. And it's amazing because any of you all who know anything about little free libraries, you know, it's an opportunity to put books out there for children and adults, which we've been doing for the past couple of years. And it is really, really used. Mind you, you know, it's one of those things where you're supposed to put a book in or take a book out. Well, we put the books in, but people all over the community are taking books out. So we're just making a call now because if you have those books, you're trying to do some spring cleaning and you've got books that you want to donate, please feel free to give us a call here at 202-561-4100. That's 202-561-4100. And let us know. We'd love for you to drop some books off here so that we can continue to keep our little free library full. You know, sometimes we get a little carried away and we'll put food in there. We'll put bags in there. We might even put a couple items of clothing in there. But yeah, come on. And if you've got free books, just bring them on by. Thank you, Lanita Jenkins, for giving a shout out to my dad. I appreciate that. And I'm always glad to have people are watching. So I'll try to give you a shout out when I can. Thank you, Curtis, again for that news broadcast. And we're going to go now to Destiny-Simone Ramjohn from CareFirst BlueCross BlueShield, to talk to us a little bit about what they're doing to reduce racial disparities in maternal health by 50% in 5 years. Is Destiny there? There you are. How are you?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. We are huge fans of your work and of WIN, and really excited to talk with you today, you and your viewers today.
Thank you. Thank you. And so, yeah, I mean, this is interesting to me. Of course, most of us who are, you know, have been mothers, you know, and understand that, you know, it's by the grace of God that we were able to have a positive experience. But why is it that Blue Cross Blue Shield has decided to address this issue of reducing health disparities or racial disparities in the area of maternal health by 50% in 5 years? That's quite a challenge you've taken on.
It is a bold goal, but I do think that for serious issues such as this, it requires serious solutions. The United States is one of the richest nations on earth, and moms are dying at the highest rate in the developed world. And that rate is rising for all moms. But for as dire as the situation is for all women and birthing people, the crisis is most severe for Black moms who are dying at 3 to 4 times the rate of their white counterparts. Native Americans, for example, are more than twice as likely to die from pregnancy-related complications. And one study found that Hispanic birthing people experience severe maternal morbidity at almost 2 times the rate of non-Hispanic white birthing people. So CareFirst BlueCross BlueShield, in partnership with our plans across the United States recognizes that this is a serious, serious issue. One other additional example is that in our study, severe maternal mortality rates are more than 63% higher for Black women than for white women. Black women aged 24 or younger still have higher rates of severe maternal mortality than white women over the age of 35. So I think ultimately these disparities are unconscionable and unacceptable. And the association, and certainly with CareFirst at the in huge partnership and leadership here in the region, is ready for action.
So, but my question is, I mean, what can Blue Cross Blue Shield do about it? I mean,
Yeah.
How do you all plan to address this problem?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the first is, I'm trained as a public health sociologist, as you said, not an MD, but a PhD. And the first component is really understanding the significance and magnitude of the issue. We launched our report partnering with the Health of America earlier in April. And now we're partnering with organizations right here in the region. So a few steps that we're taking to reach the goal, I think, around maternal and child health are first to acknowledge what we've already done, the progress that we've made. So since 2007, we've invested more than $20 million in maternal and child health programs around the Mid-Atlantic states, in Maryland, Washington, D.C., and Northern Virginia. One example includes a partnership with Mama Toto's Village, which provides comprehensive prenatal and perinatal care for African American and Latino women in wards 5, 7, and 8 in DC. And so that kind of programming, your question, what are we doing? Some of that includes home visiting services to clients from pregnancy up to 12 weeks postpartum, providing psychosocial support, life skills, system navigation, and doula services. Mama Toto's Village also ensures that they are engaging women early to ensure that prenatal care, for example, remains consistent during their first trimester, and things like breastfeeding initiation and adoption. And so, another example here in the region, in 2009, we started partnering with the Baltimore City Health Department. At that time, they had one of the worst rates of infant mortality in the country, really twice as high as the rest of the nation. And Black babies were 5 times more likely to die than white babies. So we've supported this program for more than a decade. It's called Be More for Healthy Babies. And I'm proud to report that because of this initiative, Baltimore's infant mortality rate dropped by 30% in the 10 years since the start of the initiative. So our goal is to take examples like Mama Toto's Village, like the huge partnership for Be More for Healthy Babies, and scale that program both here in the region and then in partnership with the association across the nation.
Is there any one thing that you can point to that you think really, really, really makes a difference? I know prenatal visits, I think, are important. Sometimes, we've known so many mothers who've lost babies, during pregnancy, even though they are making those prenatal visits. But is there any one thing that you can point to that you think really, and this is woman to woman now, not doctor to client, but woman to woman, that women should do that could make a difference in these drastic numbers?
I mentioned, Denise, that I'm a sociologist, and so I really think we need to flip the question on its head. That it isn't so much what we as Black women can do, but how can the systems and structures that are serving us improve what they are doing, right? So a lot of this is a multifaceted problem that requires multifaceted solutions. But I do think, to the extent that we can begin talking about not individual behaviors, but institutional systems, that things like unfair policies, things like discriminatory practices, things like implicit bias that really systematically reproduce those racially inequitable outcomes. I think that's really what the findings of the study are promising, because they mean we're not putting all the burden on patients. That really we want to share that burden equally from nonprofit organizations who can provide education and services, from provider organizations that can look at cultural competency and re-examine how their practices in that patient and provider relationship can be enhanced. That means resourcing federally qualified health centers and hospitals and more. So the study and the report is really a basis for saying at every level, the individual level or micro level, the meso level, the macro level, it takes all of that to solve this.
I can kind of see what you're saying, particularly in a community where we are, where a hospital, closed its maternal health, division, and women now had to travel, across the city, and they're not doctors in the community that they can see. So I get your point there when you talk about systems that are in place that contribute to the problem that need to be addressed.
Yeah, and you know what I would also say? The other thing is and I was talking to your producer, Chevry, yesterday about this. The other piece I think that this report gives a sort of additional spotlight on is that maternal and child health isn't just a clinical problem, right? That we can't just look at this as a solution to say, better prenatal care solely. So much of what contributes to your health happens outside of your doctor's office. As you just mentioned, when access points are closed and transportation barriers exist, that's huge. And so a doctor isn't going to write a prescription for an Uber, let's say. So I think another part of what we can do is look at maternal and child health and so many other chronic conditions, and the root causes being social determinants or economic determinants of health. And so really a universal basic income pilot, or supporting individuals in accessing food, ensuring that basic needs are met in the household, that there is, light and gas and those other elements that are present. So I think the social determinants of health is also another promising direction that says a woman can take all of her prenatal visits and prenatal vitamins and go to the doctor each time. But if we're sending that healthy mom back to a sick community, we haven't gone far enough. And I think insurers are excited about playing a role in addressing the social determinants.
So before we end, I do want to ask, because this sounds like a bigger problem than what one insurance company can manage, and it takes partners and other institutions to get involved. So how is that working?
Yeah, I think that's an absolute excellent point. Here, certainly CareFirst, along with our community health plan or DC partners, are looking at, grassroots organizations and anchor institutions. That includes the micro, like perinatal case management. It also includes partners like March of Dimes, Healthy Beginnings, Lucina, Pacify, and other kinds of organizations and technologies that better equip moms and their ecosystem with the tools that they need. And so I think you're right. We're partnering, for example, in Baltimore City with local historically Black colleges to help us think through how do we message and effectively provide information to moms. But again, it also is a systemic approach. So we're doing the same for our provider networks. We're looking at new incentive ways that we incentivize the addressing of social determinants of health through models like value-based care. And then finally, in DC, it also includes, again, that tailored case management. Last year, we announced a partnership with an organization called City Block DC, who also is going to be providing special and tailored services to our Medicaid population. So I think this is a wraparound, this is a partnership approach. CareFirst know that we can't do it alone, so we need to partner with not just institutions, but individuals that have great ideas as well.
Well, wonderful. I'm glad that you joined us today to give us, that snapshot of what you all are engaged with and how it will impact our community all across the city and the region. So thank you so much. Know that the Washington Informer wants to be a partner as well. So anytime you have more information to share, feel free to come back and join us. And we want to track that. We want to make sure that you reach that goal, because that goal is a positive one for all of us. So Dr. Destiny-Simone Ramjohn, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Denise. We look forward to partnering with you.
All right.
Good health shouldn't depend on the color of your skin or the neighborhood you live in, but too often it does. That's why Blue Cross and Blue Shield companies are launching a national health equity strategy for all the communities we serve. We're starting by working to reduce racial disparities in maternal health, so every mom gets the care she needs, and every baby has a healthy mom.
Thank you so very much. And wanted to make sure that you got a chance to see that message. And also another message that we have from a woman that you all know so very well about another topic that's very important to us. So we'll be back in just a minute.
Hey everyone, it's Michelle Obama. Barack and I are so thrilled that we got our COVID-19 vaccine, because this is a deadly disease, and this vaccine will protect us from getting really sick. Getting vaccinated is safe, and it could save your life and allow us to start getting back to seeing friends and family again. We can do this. To learn more, go to cdc.gov/coronavirus.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Thank you so very much. Yes, we wanted to make sure you got a chance to see both of those messages. And before we move on to our next guest, I just want to say, it's interesting here at the Informer, because there are lots of opinions about the vaccine. Just got off a call with a reader nearby who sort of hollered in my ear for about 5 minutes, thinking that we were promoting the vaccine. We're promoting a healthy community. That's what we're doing. And we're letting folks know that the vaccines are available. If it is your choice, please make sure that you take one, that you get the vaccine, that you keep yourself safe. I've taken it, but it's your choice. It is your choice. So, but we know that at least we believe, in order to get life back to the way that we are beginning to enjoy it as of last weekend and weekends to come, that it appears as though this is a great tool to make sure that life gets back to normal. Again, it's your choice. So moving on, we're going to talk to attorney Maureen Murat about cryptocurrency. Attorney Murat, how are you? Let's get you off of mute.
I'm sorry. I am well. Thank you.
Wonderful. So you, Attorney Murat's with the DC Department of with Insurance, Securities and Banking. Always have to remember that DISB. And, I was telling you earlier, some friends of mine and I were having a whole conversation this weekend about cryptocurrency. And when it was all over, we still didn't know any more than where we first started. So I'm honored that you're with us today to tell us what we need to know and how, the district itself is involved in this new, what is it? It's a
new frontier is what we call it.
Right, a new currency, a new frontier, and a way of exchanging not money per se, but I can't think of the word, but a currency, a new currency to purchase or to do business. So I screwed it all up. So why don't you fix what I just said?
No, that was fine. So before we get started, I do have to give a short disclaimer that, the information I'm providing today is for informational purposes only. And we, anything that I say are my views and don't necessarily reflect what the department, what the department's position is. Okay. So I guess you wanted me to start with kind of like what is
cryptocurrency? I mean, this thing came out and everybody's like, it's it's the new, bread or something. And some people are really excited about it. Some people think it's just, a myth that's another way to get your money and you're going to end up as poor as you've always been. So what's the deal?
So I'll answer your question and then I'll talk a little bit about that. So cryptocurrency, or better known as crypto for short, it is a digital asset that's designed to work as a medium of exchange. So not necessarily a currency like the dollar, the dollars that you carry in wallet, but more so a medium of exchange for value, right? Not necessarily dollars. And in addition to that, it also helps people to create or maintain individual records of those, of those cryptos that have been stored in this ledger. And the ledger is, the underlying technology of that ledger is blockchain technology. So it's often a public process, right? So the crypto, especially like Bitcoin, I think is the most popular. It's the first one. People talk about that one a lot, but essentially Bitcoin is the most popular one, and it is normally a public ledger that you can go on and look at the different transactions. And it's essentially in a computerized database that secures those transaction records. So, I know I said a whole bunch of words.
I'm like, what?
Right. But all that to say is that, cryptos are a means for people to have an option, right? They have access to these cryptos to either use them as a medium of exchange because they want to exchange for a variety of reasons or bargaining. People are using cryptos as a means to create wealth and invest. And then because of the cryptography that's attached to the cryptocurrencies, this allows people to have some privacy and control over those cryptocurrencies that they choose to have in their possession.
So let me ask this question. I'm not in the game yet, right? And I would assume that a lot of people that are watching are not. So, but there's this level of curiosity. What is this? So what, as a neophyte or whatever I might call myself, what would be my first step if I were interested in learning more? One, or is it investing in crypto? Is that what you do?
So there are a variety of ways that you can use crypto. So I would suggest the first thing you do is check out the, incredible amount of resources that are on YouTube. There's this channel called Block Geeks, so BLOCKGEEKS, and they have lots of videos that give you like step-by-step 101. What's a cryptocurrency? What's a blockchain? How do they work together? What's a digital wallet? Things like that. So there are lots of free resources. But what I would say is that, there are also courses and classes that people take that also give them some information. So I have taught at the University of New Hampshire School of Law. I've taught tokenomics and cryptocurrency regulation. So there are other educational resources out there that are definitely accessible. But let's say you've gotten the education and now it's just for you to just take the next step, right?
Right.
So this is the decision that, is a personal decision. I know there's a lot on the internet and on Twitter, and celebrities are tweeting and all that. And oftentimes, we kind of get lost in the hype because, somebody said we should do this, and so we do it. What's one thing to really remember about cryptos is that, it's very risky. It's very volatile. It changes from day to day. From minute to minute, I should say. You could go on to CoinMarketCap, which is a website that shows all the different cryptocurrencies. And, you can see the numbers moving right before your eyes. Mm-hmm. So that's something to really be mindful of. If this is something you want to get into, you definitely want to do your research and not, bet the farm, as they say. You want to be, willing to take a risk, but I guess an informed risk.
Right, I got you. And I know, not too long ago, there's this big thing. Elon Musk was going to be on Saturday Night Live. Everybody said, oh, you need to go ahead and invest in the Dogecoin quickly because, after the show is over, it's going to be, it won't be affordable. And then right after the show, I think the coin dropped in value or something. And I don't know if people actually lost money or how that worked. But I mean, I had someone ask me, maybe I'm mixing apples and oranges, but they were trying to relate this to the stock market. Is it like, playing in the stock market, or is it different? What distinction would you make?
I think there's some similarities between, the crypto market and the stock market. One being that, the market, any unexpected change in the market could make it go up or down. But on the crypto side, I think what makes cryptos and the stock market different. One is regulations, right? The crypto market is unregulated versus the stock market. Granted, even though the stock market is regulated, there are still some loopholes, and you've seen, issues. I don't know if you remember the GameStop stock and that. And now there are meme stocks. I think AME did a meme stock. So there's some, there's some issues on that side as well. But with cryptocurrencies, because they're so volatile, when you're putting in, yes, you could start out, like you said, with the Dogecoin. You started out, with one thing, let's say day one, and then by the next day, or maybe even a few hours later, it could drop very significantly. Whereas the stock market, it can go up and down sharply, but not as sharply as a crypto market, can do.
Yeah.
So that's one of the main differences. The other difference I would want to point out is that with the crypto market, there's more access to the crypto market. It's easier to get access to than the stock market. And so I think that's, one of the reasons why it makes it popular. Cryptos are popular because they're easier to access.
So everybody's looking for a way to make money, right?
Right.
We're all trying to find a way to add an additional dollar to our bank accounts or our pocketbooks. Is cryptocurrency a way of, I don't want to say getting rich, but can you?
Well, I know that there are initiatives around creating generational wealth with cryptos. And I think one of the reasons why that is something that, especially in Black and Brown communities, that's something that's being focused on is because, when you think about how wealth is passed on, oftentimes people do take risks in certain investments, but they're able to pay off or be able to balance, or mitigate some of their risks and then be able to pass that on. Now with cryptocurrencies, like I said, it is very volatile. There's some issues about like the market and how the market can go up and down based on a tweet, and things like that. But I think that when you are willing to take a risk, right? Just like you would risk putting some money into the stock market. You take a calculated risk. That was the word I was looking for earlier. And you think about like what it is that you want to do, then I think this could be a way to add this to your portfolio. I would never suggest anyone do just one thing and just, put all your eggs in one basket. I mean, we have retirement accounts, we have savings accounts, we have all these other means of creating wealth. And I mean, the Department of Insurance, Securities and Banking, we have all these different programs to help people create wealth. And sometimes it's not just about investing in cryptocurrency. Sometimes it's like starting at a more basic level, right? Let's figure out how you open a bank account, maintain that bank account, get a savings account, maintain that savings account, get a credit card, things like that to kind of lead up to that. Not that you have to have all of those things in place before you get into crypto, but I think it makes sense to have some sense of how you manage your money before you put it into something and you may never see it again, honestly.
Right. Well, this has been interesting. I think to serve our viewers, we need to continue to have these conversations and really sort of drill down a little bit more. We had a Black-owned cryptocurrency company that was the Guap coin, who had the Guap coin, and they were on with us a couple of weeks ago. And we're going to continue to revisit this, as well as some of the other ways that you talked about, that our viewers can gain wealth, because that's what we're talking about, wealth building in our communities. I love the fact that we're focusing on wealth building because we need that right now. So Dr. Murat, thank you. Attorney Murat, thank you so very much for being with us. And we want to get you back because we want to continue this conversation. And maybe if there are questions out there, we can send them to you if people want to know more, and get you back on to discuss some of those questions as well.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thanks a lot. Have a great one. I don't know, but I'm going to know. And hopefully you'll get to know a little bit more about this cryptocurrency. It sounds like it's again, a way to build wealth in our communities. And that's exactly what we want to do. And one of the ways also that we want to do that is to figure out how, as we go back to the health and welfare of our communities, what we can do to make life better for our residents. And so it's really exciting for me now to bring on James Thompson, who is the president of 100 Black Men of Greater Washington, to talk about what the 100 Black Men are doing, one, to sort of raise the level of support for Black men and boys in the Greater Washington area. And Mr. Thompson, thank you for joining us today.
Ms. Barnes, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yes, yes. I mean, this is probably a very critical time, not only for the community, but for the work that you all are doing. I mean, since, you know, the news last year about James Floyd and what's happening with Black men, George Floyd, around what's happening with Black men around the country, and also, you know, the violence that we're beginning to see, sort of an uptick in our communities. And so I can imagine that, you know, it's a heavy burden on your organization of how to address some of these issues. And so I'm glad you're on to share some of that with us. So tell us, you know, what 100 Black Men is, what the organization is, and some of the programs that you all are involved with.
Well, once again, thank you. It's an honor and privilege to serve as the president of the 100 Black Men of Greater Washington, D.C., and an honor to be here with you today. The 100 Black Men of America started in 1963 in New York City as an initial concept and idea, and a meeting happened here in October of 1986 to start the 100 Black Men of America with 9 initial chapters. In 1995, as an outburst of the Million Man March, 11 professional men came together, determining that they wanted to give more of their time, talent, and treasure to the community, to the local community. And our chapter was formed 26 years ago. And we go under the auspice and under the pillars of mentoring, education, health and wellness, and economic empowerment. So all of our program kind of focuses on those four for the future areas.
And how do you actually reach you know, the men and boys in the community? It's one thing to have programs, but how do you actually reach and engage with them? What is it that you're doing in communities that you could point to?
So we do a Saturday Leadership Academy. That's every first and third Saturday of the month. And we do that right in Ward 8 at Anacostia when we were in person. Right now we're in the virtual environment, of course. We do a Saturday STEM Academy. So the Leadership Academy is the first and third Saturday. The STEM Academy is the second and fourth Saturday. Then we also do programming in economic empowerment and health and wellness.
You talk about economic empowerment and health and wellness. And I think those are two, we just talked about, you know, cryptocurrency before. We were talking about maternal health, but we don't always think about it from the male perspective. And so what are some of the things that you're teaching some of the young men that you're working with about, you know, how they can be contributors to the community on both of those sides, keeping themselves healthy and you know?
So in DC, tomorrow when we talk about health and wellness, we have an event we kick off for one of our beloved brothers that passed away named Jesse Parker. He was the architect of some of the great things that we do in health and wellness. We have a program that he started called Youth Movement. And that's where we go inside the classroom and teach to a 6 to 8 week curriculum about the importance of diet, nutrition, and staying active. We actually host annually a Dr. Tommy Smith track meet where we invite over 600 youth athletes from this area to participate in that track meet. So those are some of the things, the youth movement, just getting people active, talking about the importance of health and nutrition in the community. Those are some of the things that we do at the level of the youth. In economic empowerment, we have great partnerships with people like Experian. Recently, we were able to help people who have been devastated by COVID-19 financially. We were able to help over 15 families save themselves from evictions, right? So we were able to do some rental assistance and some mortgage assistance to help families out locally. But we also teach from our hands-on banking curriculum. So we have a robust curriculum to teach the importance of financial literacy. Some of the things that we didn't learn in the classroom as youth, right? Some of those important things about smart money management and banking. So we teach from a very robust curriculum around financial literacy to teach our students, to get them prepared. And sometimes they even go to our national convention and compete on a national stage about the things that they have learned about financial literacy.
How successful have you been with not only recruiting young people, you know, to engage with your programs, or men to engage with your programs? Because sometimes, you know, we have the greatest ideas, the greatest programs, and the seats are empty. we just can't get, the young people to come in and take advantage of it. And then also, if the seats are overflowing, we don't have the volunteers, right, to support the work that we're doing. So that's a two-edged sword. And how are you all managing both of those?
So we really have engaging programs that they're going to be interested in to bring their attention to what we're doing. We actually see some of the most robust enrollment that we've seen in the history of our program. So this last year, our Saturday Leadership Academy we welcomed students from 64 middle and high schools from this local region, right? It was the highest enrollment that we've received. And we actually retained over 60% of those students. So we're seeing a high number of engagement. I'm constantly getting calls from DC, Maryland, and Virginia, all the way down to Howard County, all the way to Loudoun County, from educators, right? And mothers and parents that want to say, hey, I want a program like yours to engage my son or my daughter. So we're actually seeing some of the highest numbers that we've seen, and we just keep really engaging. I'll give you an example. So we invited a Black-owned gaming company, right? So we know that a lot of our students are gamers. The Saturday mornings, they spend behind a gaming system actually playing the game, but we brought a Black-owned gaming company from Delaware to teach them how to be owners of a gaming company, right? This is a $1 billion industry. So we are able to tap into the STEM part, right? Teaching them to think critically in the gaming environment and programming, but also we're able to tie in our economic empowerment pillar, right? To teach them how to build wealth, generational wealth, to become owners behind some of these things. So we just keep it really engaging. We invited Microsoft in, and our model is what they see is what they'll be. So what we did was brought Black programmers in. So when you see someone, you're more likely to believe that you can achieve that career when you see someone that looks like you.
Amazing. And what about your volunteers? How do you recruit them?
Well, so we have a 3-step process. Most people reach out to us via the website, membership. We just do an interview, right? A background check. We want to make sure you align with our mission, vision, and values, right? And then after that, we'll welcome you into the chapter to volunteer as a member of the organization.
I'm curious because also, we have these organizations. You're the president. But what is it in your background? What is it that made you decide that this was an organization worth spending your time and investing in and leading?
I'll tell you, I spent 6 years active duty in the United States Marine Corps. And I had a Marine that was a senior leader. And at 19 years old, he found out that I was from Flint, Michigan. And at the time, Flint, Michigan was a very impoverished community. And he found out exactly where I came from. And he said to me, and he inspired me, he said, you came from this environment. Do you not think it yourself responsible to give to the next generation as some have given to you to get you to where you are today? And I volunteered 21 years ago as a young Marines drill instructor, right? So I was spending my weekends, my Saturday mornings with these young Marines in an environment where they needed coaching and they needed mentorship. So I've been really doing this for over 20 years, right? I was inspired by someone who told me that it was my responsibility to reach back and pull forward. And I've kind of been serving in that capacity in service since that moment, right? So that was about 20 years ago. And recently, about 5 years ago, joining the chapter, becoming the mentoring chairman and getting a better understanding of what it means to mentor in this organization, having relationships with our parents, with our partners, with our students, with our mentees, with the schools. I just fell in love with the work in this community and decided to lead this effort and thankful for my chapter for the opportunity.
Well, all praises to you, Mr. Johnson, for doing this and for actually, for making a difference, because that's what's really important. A lot of us see a lot of young men in our communities, and we just wish we could point them in directions. And it's good that 100 Black Men is there, to pick up that mantle, and to support these young men. There's a great need. There's a tremendous need, and so I don't think we can. What am I trying to say? We can't overlook the work and the impact that you're having. And we just congratulate you and all of your members for making a difference.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's an incredible honor to do this work and to be in this space. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to speak with you today.
All righty. And, whenever you look trying to recruit volunteers or whatever, just let us know. We will certainly help to get the word out.
As you
Jeremy says you'll be back next week.
Yeah,
from the group. That's good.
We'll be inviting some more members of the chapter to speak.
Wonderful. Yeah. I am so excited about that because we got to keep this conversation going. So I appreciate that. So we look forward to that.
Thank you so much. And we have an event tomorrow. We kick off a health and wellness series, a 4-part series to honor a fallen brother of our chapter who served as the chairman for 10 years. So we're going to be doing some cycling event tomorrow. And then in the coming weeks, we'll also be doing some boot camps and health and wellness initiatives. So look out for those.
Certainly will. Certainly will. Thank you so much.
Take care.
All righty. Okay, doke. You too. Fantastic. Now, I'm going to keep this ball rolling because our time is running short, and I want to make sure that we recognize also that this June is Pride Month, a celebration of life recognized globally, and now in its 51st year. But everyone in the community is not treated equally. So we want to take a look at this video before we bring on Taylor Chandler, the president of Flux.
My name is T.Y. Williams. Guess what? I'm just that guy that like to have fun. I like to skate. I like to be involved in the community. And I want to make sure that as a trans man, especially trans men of color, that our rights are heard and understood. And also make sure that you understand that when we talk about the reproductive system, include trans men of color, especially us, because our voices need to be heard as well. I'm an advocate for trans men of color, especially making sure that our rights are heard. I want to make sure that as a trans man that we are visible. We are not here, we are seen, and the team will not be silent. Trans and non-binary people are the most marginalized and are constantly having their rights and their protection stripped away. I am committed to elevating our profile, our visibility, and making sure that we are seen. Here's how you can hold yourself accountable and do your part by becoming a member of Flux. My name is Tyree Williams. I am a brother, I'm a son, I'm a father, and I'm an advocate. I'm also transgender. See me.
Hi, my name is Taylor Chandler Walker. I'm a member of Flux AHF. Today it's more important than ever to use privilege to elevate voices that for too long have not been heard. I encourage you to become part of a movement to make equality and equity for all.
All right. So Taylor Chandler, president of Flux. Taylor, thank you so very much for joining us. How are you?
I'm good. My pleasure. It was, oh my gosh, it almost brought me to tears seeing that video.
I know. I think it's to me, I think as we look at not only Pride Month, but there's so many people, individuals throughout our communities whose stories are not being told. And we don't recognize them for, the lives and the challenges that they face. And so I appreciate you bringing that to us today during this month. Tell us a little bit about Flux.
Flux is an affinity group, part of AIDS Healthcare Foundation, and they use their platform to elevate Black and Brown voices through marketing, advocacy, and creating safe spaces where you wouldn't necessarily see the community normally. And, it's all event driven. So it's fun. And it puts us in the community because visibility is so important.
Tell us why, though. I mean, I think, through the video, we heard a little bit about why, people want to have their voices heard. But why is it important to have voices heard?
I'm going to put it right out there. I'm white. I have the privilege of this skin color when I leave the house. My Black and Brown brothers and sisters who are trans, they're Black first. So when they leave the house, that's the first thing people see. And then all these other targets are put on their back. Every year we recognize in November how many typically Black trans people have been murdered. And, I'm tired of memorializing people when they're dead. We have the resources. We need to elevate, create equity, equality, jobs, housing, for people that have far too long been marginalized. I often say, it's not enough to just not be racist. You have to be anti-racist. And with, the trans and gender non-conforming community, the prejudice that they encounter daily isn't just from white America or white supremacy. It is from their own Black community oftentimes because of, generational, really deep-rooted religious beliefs. And, so it's important for people to see that we are the same. We have jobs just like you, and that it shouldn't be a rite of passage for so many to have to resort to survival sex work just because their education was interrupted. They were put out of their home, they're homeless or at risk. So the visibility to me shows that, hey, someone, you just may not have known it. Unfortunately, no one can say that they don't know a trans person now because of Caitlyn Jenner. But I can assure you that is not a role model for many within my community, certainly not people of color, because there's so much wealth and privilege there. That's no one I know trans story.
Right. It's interesting, though, when you talk about particularly the Black community, because that's the only community I know. But a lot of the challenges start, like you said, within the home, within the family. And it's the challenge of family members to understand how to be accepting of something that they think is not normal, right? And so are you all, is the organization working also to provide resources for families who also are transitioning, with the loved one and moving to sort of figure out a way to be more accepting and supportive, if you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. Actually, I'm the transgender health coordinator for Us Helping Us here in DC.
Okay.
Longest running Black-led org, 36 years. And we provide programming that's completely wraparound. So everything from actual jobs where we place you with community partners, and we provide through a DHS grant your salary, benefits, tuition reimbursement starting at $42,600. We provide support and resources for the family, along with my org, Capital Pride, as well as Flux, invites the family to come in and be a part of everything, because it's really good to see how welcoming the community is, and they want to help someone go through what is, for a parent, a mourning period. A lot of times they're losing that sense of what they thought was going to be their daughter and a wedding and grandbabies, or for their now trans son, the same things. And we can help maneuver through that. PFLAG is another great organization that really is for the family dynamic. And there's chapters everywhere. There's the national chapters, but my organization specifically, we connect you with all that. We don't just give you the resource and say, hey, good luck. We liaison. We make sure that you're connected. And the mayor's office of LGBTQ affairs here has just launched a transgender working group to change the face of what it means to be trans in the city. Because you and I both know, since COVID, problems that have been in existence for generations were amplified by COVID.
Right.
During COVID, I was providing PPEs and food bags to Ward 6, 7, and 8. And it wasn't specific to trans. But then to be trans going through this, it makes it even worse. But, there's so much systemic racism to break down. And, I'm humbled to be able to have a platform and a voice where I can elevate my Black and brown brothers and sisters. And that's what I do. I bring them with me. I don't tell their story. I let them tell it. I just have this unique opportunity to bring them into a space they may not have gotten into on their own.
I think that's really great. And I do believe that, you know, in the past, even when we celebrated, you know, Pride Month or whatever, I mean, it was largely considered, you know, an opportunity for the white LGBT community, and the Black community felt largely hidden. Thus, you know, we have Us Helping Us and organizations like that to really represent those members of that community. So I think it's great. We're running out of town, but what do you have any programs or events planned for Pride Month that we need to know about?
Yes, absolutely. Capitol Pride has maneuvered really quickly now that things are opening up, especially on June 11th. We have the honors and after party on June 11th, which will be at the newly opened Compass Coffee in Northwest. It's an amazing space. Then on Saturday, we're doing a walk along from DuPont to Freedom Plaza, followed by the Pride Mobile and cars, you know, more of a lowdown kind of pride compared to what we've done in years past, but everybody can get involved. And then colorful, decorate your business, decorate your home, show your pride, show your allyship. All these things can be found at capitalpride.org. You can sign up. And then on Sunday, it's Pride Brunch with local community partners. But one thing I want to stress, Pride started in the Black community with Stonewall. It was a riot. You know, when Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera threw that glass through that window, that was the start of Pride. And I don't want people to forget that in a lot of places, white people took over Pride, but it started in the Black community. And we have a robust Black Pride here in DC that was this past weekend through Black Equity, Kenya Hutton, Earl Folks. Like it was smaller, but it's great. And there'll be some events specific to Black Pride during Capitol Pride, June 11th to the 13th as well.
Well, we put information out so people can get more information if they're interested, and just for all the other resources, including the job opportunities that you're offering, that I think is really great, and employers need to know about that as well. So I want to thank you so much, Taylor, for being with us, for taking this time, and for doing the work that you do.
Thank you so much for having me.
All righty. Talk to you soon. So, boy, I tell you, this is a busy month and a lot going on, and not only locally, but globally. We are really kind of sad, but happy to know that our next guest, Pastor Weaver with the Greater Mount Nebo AME Church in Prince George's County, is going to talk to us about what's happening in Goma, in the Democratic Republic of Congo in Africa, where dozens of people were killed and thousands of homes were destroyed, and a massive exodus that took place following the eruption of one of the world's most active volcanoes. And that event took place far away, but its impact is felt right here at home. Let's take a look. Pastor Weaver, thank you for joining us. You've given us a short snapshot of what happened and may still be going on in Goma. I understand the volcano has pretty much settled, but tell us about your experience and a little bit about the town, because a lot of people have never heard of Goma. They don't know where the Democratic Republic of Congo is located. So, and they don't know about your programs that are there. So I want to start with that.
Thank you, Denise, very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, I've been involved with Africa since 1971. That was my first trip 50 years ago, actually between my junior and senior years in college, where I was able to go to Nigeria and serve as a volunteer with an organization called Operation Crossroads Africa that was started by a Black Presbyterian pastor in Harlem, Dr. James Robinson. And since then, I've been in and out of Africa. Most recently, just 2 weeks ago, I was there to visit several NGOs, including one of our own called the Pan-African Collective, which I founded 18 years ago. We now have a chapter in Rwanda, and also attempted to visit a school that bears my name in Goma. Unfortunately, because of COVID restrictions, I was not able to be there. But I returned to the United States one day before the volcano erupted. And I've been in contact with friends both in Goma, the easternmost city in the Democratic Republic of Congo, with a population of about 2 million people, and also with people in Western Rwanda, where there's been a series of earthquakes that have followed the volcano eruption.
Pastor Weaver, first, I mean, I'd like to, I want to talk about that, but I think it's good news to know that, you know, you've created or established the Pan-African Collective, you know, African Americans and other people of color around the diaspora who are really concerned about, you know, bridging relationships with Africa, not necessarily always giving aid, but it's all about, you know, how we can bridge relationships. And how is it that PAC decided to settle or create programs in those two areas, in Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda? What was it about those two countries where you settled?
Well, in Rwanda, it was actually a personal invitation from a pastor there in the capital city of Kigali back in 2008. And I subsequently visited Rwanda in some sense out of curiosity, since I had not been there before. And of course, many people, if they know anything about Rwanda, it's regrettably about, of course, genocide that took place in 1994. I went to Rwanda in 2010 for the first time, and I saw a country that has gone through a tremendous transformation in terms of just in so many areas, economically, socially, in terms of reconciliation between people there in the country. And since then, both through Greater Mount Nebo AME Church and the Pan-African Collective, working jointly, we've been engaged in medical missions trips there to Rwanda as well as to Goma. And we've actually had a chance to treat over 25,000 people over the last 8 years, each year during a 2-week annual trip. About 4 years ago, the leaders of the AME Church there in Goma were complimented by local government officials for the work that has taken place there with the medical projects. And as a result of that, decided to establish a school that, yes, bears my name now, called the Weaver Primary and Secondary School, with 1,000 students, 25% of whom are orphans, and the other 75% are children of refugees. So we've really developed a very, very serious relationship, both in Rwanda and Congo, with the people there. And so we found it to be something very passionate to therefore want to respond to this volcano eruption and the earthquakes in Rwanda.
And so what are they telling you? I mean, I'm sure you've been in touch, and they're giving you sort of a view of what life has been like for them for the last couple of weeks. What are you hearing?
Denise, I'm averaging about 3 to 5 phone calls each day since the eruption. Unfortunately, there in Goma, for example, literally hundreds of thousands of people fled the city with the eruption. They became refugees, if you will, there in Rwanda, but outlining villages as well on the Goma side or in the Congolese side. Tragically, hundreds of homes were destroyed. There is a serious lack of food in Goma right now. Food prices have soared to over 300% from its normal prices. There is a tremendous lack of water. There's a threat of diarrhea and cholera in the city itself. And in fact, there's a threat that there may be another eruption from the volcano. And on the Rwanda side, there's been a series of earthquake tremors and that have destroyed close to 75 homes and left a lot of people homeless. Those that in fact were on both sides, but particularly in Goma, we've had people, for quite frankly, that were elderly that simply could not flee and tragically were burned to death by the lava flow. So what we're attempting to do is to try to meet some of the immediate needs of the people, thereby literally providing food and water so that people won't starve to death and indeed will be able to have clean water.
You know, unfortunately, and I want to dig a little deeper into that, but unfortunately, we've heard sort of brief news stories on CNN or what have you about what happened or what is happening there, but they're so brief and so seldom, and so we don't know. At least I don't. Maybe you can tell us if the United States has stepped in at all to provide any support. And then I'd certainly like to know what PAC is doing.
To the best of my knowledge, Denise, there has not been a direct U.S. government response to this. The United Nations is on the ground there in Goma to provide some support. But in terms of direct relief and aid coming from other countries, quite frankly, unfortunately, because of the lack of media attention to what is happening there in Goma and in Western Rwanda, there's a number of NGOs that are on the ground, but I'm talking about local NGOs, Rwandan NGOs, for example, that we are partnering with to be able to provide assistance for people that have been left homeless. And on the Goma side, yes, as I pointed out, the United Nations is there, and there's a number of other NGOs as well. But in terms of direct U.S. aid, not yet. Hopefully there will be soon, but it hasn't happened yet.
So how can viewers support what the Pan-African Collective is doing? You know, it sounds like there's an opportunity to do something. So what would you ask?
Well, I appreciate it, Denise. And again, because we've got people on the ground, and that's the good thing. And they're also able to therefore tell us where these kinds of resources can be secured. So we already know of places on the outskirts of Goma where we can secure food that will be certainly far less expensive. And likewise, we're not very far from a water factory facility to be able to obtain clean water. And likewise, on the Rwanda side, we have representatives for the Pan-African Collective, Rwandan, that are there on the ground working with 2 other NGOs, so that in fact, within the next 5 to 6 days, we will actually be distributing food to hundreds and hundreds of families, both on the Rwandan side, and again, because of our connection with leaders of the AME Church there in Goma, we'll be doing the same thing. Having said that, certainly we would welcome people that might be interested in supporting our effort. They could simply go, for those that use Cash App, for example, $PAC0404. If there are people that are old school like myself, they could simply use our mailing address for the Pan-African Collective, which is 12138 Central Avenue, Suite 678 in Bowie, Maryland, 20721.
Can I get you to repeat that, Pastor Weber?
Happy to, sure. Again, the Cash App would be $PAC0404, and the mailing address is for the Pan-African Collective, 12138 Central Avenue, Suite 678, Bowie, Maryland, 20721. And Denise, if I could quickly say, every single penny that we are raising will go directly towards the relief effort. There is no administrative cost as far as we're concerned. We want to make sure that every penny goes towards providing food and water that so desperately is needed in both of those regions right now. It's an immediate crisis, and we want to try to respond to it.
Have you heard about how the students are doing at the school, or was the school affected?
Well, thank God for your question, Denise. Right now, physically, the structures were not damaged at all. I did hear through one of the local AME church leaders that one young boy, in the midst of just the attempt to flee from that volcano eruption on that Saturday, he broke his leg.
Mm.
Yeah, and so we don't know about any other physical issues. Now, the other problem, though, is that for many of those children, again, because of the fact that they're orphans, what we're finding is that the foster parents of some of the children have now taken in other people to help them as well. So, in fact, you may have had, for example, a household where there were 4 to 5 people. Now they're up to 20 people living in one home. But again, with a lack of resources, 90% of the people of Congo are unemployed.
Mm.
And for those that do have a job, they're averaging no more than $3 a day. So it's a very desperate situation. So often things that we take for granted, my goodness, are simply beyond the capacity of most Congolese. The situation is only slightly better in Rwanda, but that's the situation with the school and the students and their parents and those parents of the children of refugees as well.
Well, I can see why PAC is there. I can see why you spend a lot of time to be there as well. Full disclosure, I am actually a proud new member of your board, and so very, very proud to support the organization. And do you have any plans of going back anytime soon, or have you just decided that you'll, what are your plans?
Well, I hope to be able to go back at some point. Certainly for the moment, though, I know full well that we've got trusted leaders within the Pan-African Collective who are going to be extremely accountable in terms of how the money is spent. They're going to be sending to me videos, pictures, so I will happily share those with you, Denise, when we get them. But certainly at some point, I hope to be able to go to be able to assess the kind of support that we've been able to provide for people. And by the way, I would certainly encourage persons watching today to consider going to Africa and, in fact, join us. People that are doctors, that are nurses, those that would just like to be able to do something, to be able to partner, not to simply be providing aid, but partner and learn from our brothers and sisters on the African continent. I would like to add just 2 other things very quickly, knowing, number one, that there will be some other organizations that will be providing humanitarian relief. But I think that it's a wonderful thing when we, from the family of Africa, those of us that fully recognize that our ancestors came from the continent of Africa, this would be a wonderful opportunity for us to be able to stand in solidarity with our brothers and sisters there in Rwanda and Congo. Lastly, Denise, I would say that while we may not be able to change the world, we have an opportunity right now to change somebody's world by what we do right now.
Wonderful. And before we go, Pastor Rhea, I wanted you to mention the fact that I think didn't some of the students from the school have a graduation or pass a test or something? There was some good news that came out recently, and I wanted you to share that with us.
Thank you so much. Yes. Now, this Weaver School, remember, all of these children really are in a desperate situation. And by the way, at the school, students, parents, whether they're foster or otherwise, don't have to pay a single penny. I spend my time, yes, and I'm grateful for other donors for the school. But the fact of the matter is that for every child that is attempting to go from what we would call the 6th grade into high school, they must pass a national exam. And for the last 4 years since the inception of the school, every child that stood for this test has passed it and is now going on to secondary school. And likewise, for the high schoolers, those are in the equivalent of the 12th grade, hoping to therefore perhaps go to a college or a university, whether or not it be in Congo or elsewhere. Every single one of them has passed. That is a major tribute to the teachers and what they've done to instill in those children a real discipline of learning and for education.
Great news. I wanted to end on a good note, and just to say that, you know, the investment in the people and the country has been worth it, and that's one way of showing, I think, how positive that's been. And so, Pastor Weaver, I want to thank you so very much for being with us today. We will continue to share this information with folks. We hope to do a story in the Washington Informer as well. So thank you, and continue to do the great work.
Denise, thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of WIN TV. We certainly are glad that you were able to join us. Again, if you have $1 or so or more that you can donate to the cause, to the PAC for the work, humanitarian work, please don't hesitate. Go ahead and take care of that right away. And before we go, we always have our Black History Fact video, so we want to share that with you. And we want to let you know that we'll be back again next week, same time, here on Facebook and YouTube. And make sure you tell your friends and relations, your friends, to join us, okay? So until then, have a great weekend. Stay safe. Stay tuned also for Bridge TV with what's going on in DC with the media prints, as well as Sounds of the DMV. This is Denise Rollard Barnes. See you next time.
Here's another edition of WIN TV's Black Facts. On June 4th, 1972, Black Panther member and political activist Angela Davis was acquitted by a white jury of charges from a 1970 courtroom shootout. On June 5th, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. earned his doctorate in systematic theology from Boston University in 1955. June 6, 1987, Mae C. Jemison was chosen by NASA to begin training as a space shuttle astronaut. June 7, 1943, famed poet Nikki Giovanni was born. June 8, 1977, is the birth date of megastar Kanye West. On June 9, 1989, Congressman John Conyers announced a call for a reparations study. And on June 10, 2004, American singer, pianist, and leading entertainer Ray Charles died in Beverly Hills, California.
Reporting from the Washington Informer, this is Lindiwe Vilakazi.
Hear ye, the moment you have all been waiting for. All things DC, Maryland, and Virginia happens all here at one place. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you what's going on, DC. I'm your boy, the Media Prince, the coolest kid on the block, and I'm here to give you the countdown of everything happening here in the district. First up, Joe Biden thinks 4 more years of high school would do us justice. Say what now? Take a quick look.
12 years is no longer enough today to compete with the rest of the world in the 21st century. That's why My American Families Plan guarantees 4 additional years of public education for every person in America, starting as early as we can.
Thank you, Lord, that I am done with school. I refuse to be the same age I am graduating from college, graduating from high school. Hey, all my actors and actresses of the DMV, Dream Merchant Media Entertainment and Terrell Entertainment are casting for their upcoming holiday feature. Also, Megamind Media is also looking for you actors and actresses. Take a quick look.
We're looking for you. Here at Megamind Media, we're casting for new talent for our upcoming feature films. We're looking for supporting cast, day players, background talent. That means we're looking for you. Comment below, tag a friend, and email us for more information. Who do I look like I'm auditioning for?
DC's own Taraji P. Henson and VA's own Pharrell Williams for Town and Country magazine. Howard University is reportedly launching master classes previously pitched by the late great Chadwick Boseman. I'll be here for that. How about you? Let's hope it's true. Lit in DC is back June 9th from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Powered by Ronald Moten, G of the Museum, and Eric Weaver. Find out all details now on Instagram. Okay, DMV, come a little closer. Word on the street is Jay-Z, yes, Sean Carter, may have interest in ownership of the Washington football team. Do you guys believe it? Well, I'd be here for it. I'm sure you guys will too. Comedian Big Iggy revamps American Dad's theme song. Take a look.
Good morning, DMV. I'm headed to the CFE. I'm finna go be my feed. My heli looks sweet and my phones are not cheap. And I'm finna go crank to that new TCB. Shout out to my moles. Good morning, DMV. Good morning, DMV.
Good morning to my moles. Hey DC, what are your thoughts on DC bike life? Well, one thing for sure, Mayor Bowser is not a fan and says it's not DC culture. Take a quick look.
Today, Mayor Bowser shot down claims that illegal dirt bikes and ATV riding is part of DC street culture. This comes as more of these vehicles were seen on DC streets over the weekend, and for many, it's a public safety issue that we've seen year after year.
I don't know why we would say that this is DC culture, because I see it all over the place. I see it in Maryland. I see it on the Beltway. Are they saying it's part of Maryland culture? And again, I also see that's where a lot of the dirt bikes are coming from.
How do you guys feel about that? We want to hear from you. Our forever president and forever first lady, Barack Michelle Obama, executive produces a new Netflix musical series featuring music from DMV's own Corday. Let's take a look, shall we?
Let me start to tell y'all all about taxes. How much do you pay? Well, that depends on your bracket.
Speaking of our artists, congratulations goes to Zaman, Rico Nasty, and Black Fortune on being featured in this year's Rolling Loud Festival. Round of applause, that's a big deal. I told you, our music industry is winning here. Lastly, have you heard of Chris Pirate? Well, check him out now with me.
I was on my mind. Right. Shorty wait for me. I'm just trying to get the bottle, shorty wait for me. I'm just trying to get the bottle, shorty wait for me. I was on my mind. Shorty wait for me. I'm just trying to get the bottle, shorty with me. I'm just trying to get the bottle, shorty with me. God was on my mind.
Freaking dope, isn't he? Well, that's the amazing talent we have here in our area. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another week of what's going on in DC. Again, I'm your boy, the Media Prince. Make sure to stay caught up and tuned in on everything you missed. And head over now to wibridgedc.com to make sure you don't miss this or anything else. And remember to hit those hashtags WGODC and WIBridge TMP style for all your latest looks. Oh, and one more thing. Make sure you head to Amazon and get my book, And Then I Was Canceled. Motivational quotes for triumph and success. All right, then go have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
Check. Yeah, hey, let me hear you say go, rah, rah, go, rah, rah, go. Go, yo, it ain't hard to tell. I excel, cause I'm nice with it. You nice, I can't tell if you don't right with it. DC, hold me down like they supposed to. I hit a Philly, hit Chili, that's if he local. You can't walk in my shoes, but I could show you. Can't hang with my crew if I don't know you. Wait, listen, raw got bars, I'm Young Prison. Wait, listen, raw got bars, I'm Sean Smith. I'm from a city of poverty, hard living. Pop missing, no guidance, mom tripping. Hard work that come first is not given. To make it last, Gotta overcome your past, no reminiscing. Swear they discovered me like I'm hit. Hey yo, I don't believe in enemies. Look at the energy I give. I took a break, I'm awake at the God's risen. Pray your soul don't get ate up when you go through lion's den. Pray your soul becomes greater when you go through lion's den. Pray your soul don't get ate up. You go through lion's den. Pray your soul becomes greater when you go through. Hey, let me hear you say go, rah, rah, go, rah, rah, go. Yo, the DMV like go, rah, rah, go, rah, rah, go. Yo, and all my people like go, rah, rah, go, rah, rah, go. Yo, bro, AZZ gang like go, rah, rah, go, rah, rah, go. Yo, hey, yeah, I'm out.
The advice I would give artists today reaching a bigger audience is just utilize your social media platforms, because we didn't really have those avenues, so it was really like foot to the pavement for the era that I came up in. But now you could become the biggest phenomenon without ever leaving your house. So I would just say, figure out your branding, figure out your target audience, what people want to hear from you, and just keep feeding that audience. How would I describe my journey? My journey as a woman has been a very, very layered one, because during the time when I first came out, like 08, 09, there weren't a lot of women who were rapping. It wasn't a presence yet. I feel like we ain't really started to see the floodgates open until Nicki. So my journey was a difficult one. And I think I was ahead of my time in a lot of ways. But overall, I wouldn't take anything back from it. It definitely shaped not only the artist that I became, but the woman that I became. Upcoming projects, yes. I'm working with a label out of New York called Binge. They're out of Brooklyn. So we're working on some collaborative projects. I'm also working on an R&B EP. But in the meantime, I did drop 2 albums, 2 EPs this past year. So one is titled Crown, which is the latest one. Pretty much no features except for my brother Pro. And then the one prior to that, me and my original producer Judah linked back up, went back to basics, and we put out an album called In My Free Time. So I would ask everyone to check those 2 out. And if you're rocking with it, then look forward to what I have coming. So all my social medias are the same thing, at RaTheMC, RaTheMC, and that's on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all the way down the line.